I was not sent to Antarctica because I was brave. I was sent because I understood dead languages, the kind that stop being spoken because the speakers stop existing. The door had been found 12 miles beneath the ice, embedded upright in a cavern that should not have existed. Ice cores showed the surrounding glacier was older than recorded human history. The door was older than the ice. It wasn't buried. It was waiting. When I first saw it, I knew something was wrong, not because it looked alien, but because it looked intentional. 7 feet tall. Black metal smoother than obsidian, swallowing light instead of reflecting it. Frost refused to cling to it. Heat refused to melt it. Every instrument pointed somewhere else when aimed at it, like the universe didn't want to acknowledge it. The symbols on its surface moved when no one was watching. I know this because they stopped when I looked directly at them. They brought me in restraints, not because they feared me, but because they feared what might speak through me. When I read the symbols aloud, the station lost power. Not shut down, lost. As if electricity had been erased as a concept in that moment. The ice began to vibrate, deep, slow, like something enormous turning over in its sleep. The door opened inward. It didn't lead down, it led away. The space beyond it was a ship, an impossible structure resting in a hollow where ice had been pushed aside as though politely moved. The walls curved like bone. The air tasted old, heavy. Every breath felt like it had already been breathed by something else first. At the center was a chamber with no corners, and inside it stood the thing that would end us. 7 feet tall when hunched, taller when it straightened, and it could straighten far more than anatomy should allow. Its legs bent backward like a predator's. Its torso was corded muscle wrapped in scaled skin that shifted color as it breathed. Coarse fur spilled down its spine and arms, like it had grown tired of choosing one form. Its head was wrong. A wolf's skull stretched long and narrow, fused with a reptilian jaw that opened too far, hinging wider than bone should permit. Rows of teeth folded inside each other like machinery. When it exhaled, steam rolled out that smelled faintly of iron and rot. Its eyes were closed. Everyone assumed it was dormant. I didn't. The symbols on the floor weren't decorative, they were constraints, a language built not to communicate but to bind. A grammar of imprisonment. And when I translated the final sequence, my hands began to shake because I understood too late what it meant. I hadn't been asked to study the door. I had been brought to finish a sentence. The creature's eyes opened. They were not animal. They were ancient, reflective, and impossibly aware. Pupils dilated and contracted as it scanned us, not with curiosity, but with recognition, as though we matched a pattern it already knew. It spoke without moving its mouth. Not words, thoughts forced into shape. "You are late," it said inside my skull, "but you are sufficient." Men screamed as gravity twisted. One soldier folded inward like wet paper, his bones snapping not outward, but back into himself. Another tried to run and simply ceased to occupy space between steps. The creature moved once, that was enough. Bullets slowed, froze, dropped. It reached out with a clawed hand and touched the ship's wall lovingly, like greeting an old companion. Symbols ignited across the chamber. I fell to my knees, blood pouring from my nose. It looked at me then, really looked. And I understood the worst truth of all. It wasn't waking up, it had been awake the entire time. "We built the door to keep the others out," it said. But eventually, something always learns to read. The ship began to rise. Ice screamed as it fractured above us. The ceiling collapsed in slow motion. The creature stepped past me, its claws inches from my face, and I felt my memories peeling, names, faces, childhood moments catalogued, filed away like specimens in drawers I didn't know I had. It didn't take them all. That mercy was deliberate. As the ship rose, the cavern stretching wider than physics allowed, I understood something else the language had implied, but never stated outright. Memory was currency. Identity was fuel. The door had not been a lock. It had been a filter. The creature stepped into the widening fissure above, its body elongating as the ceiling receded, joints unfolding like a nightmare of geometry. The ice didn't fall on it, it bent away. The ship's hull hummed, not mechanically but linguistically. Every vibration was a syllable. Every pulse a clause being spoken into the planet. Alarms screamed behind me. Red light strobed across bodies that no longer resembled bodies. I tried to crawl, but gravity was no longer loyal. Up was a suggestion. Down was a memory. The thing paused at the threshold. It turned its head just enough to let one eye meet mine. "You were never meant to survive," it said. "You were meant to remember." And then it was gone, vanishing upward in a roar of displaced ice and impossible light. Silence followed. Not peace. Silence like a held breath. I don't know how long I lay there. Time returned badly, like a stutter. When the rescue team arrived, weeks later, they told me they found me alone in a perfectly circular chamber. No ship, no door, no symbols. Just frostbitten walls and a man screaming in a language no one recognized. They said I repeated the same phrase over and over. "It's not gone." They transferred me to a facility farther south. Deeper, safer. That word again. I was wrapped in blankets, sedated, debriefed by people who never met my eyes. Every report I gave was classified. Every recording was sealed. They told the world the station collapsed. They told me I was lucky. But here is what I have not told them. At night, when the lights are low and the walls hum softly with power, the symbols return. Not on the walls, behind my eyes. They rearrange themselves when I'm not looking directly at them. They form sentences I don't want to finish. Sometimes I feel something immense passing overhead, far above the clouds, far beyond satellites. When it does, everyone else hears thunder. I hear punctuation. The creature did not steal all my memories. It left me the important ones, because the sentence isn't complete. The door was only the first clause, and now every time I dream, I feel that same pressure in my skull, that polite, patient attention, waiting for me to read the next part aloud.